started. We may have a few others join us throughout. So as I mentioned, just making sure everyone is aware that we are recording the webinar today. Just want to make sure you're aware of that. This is an informational session about the Dog Tag Fellowship Program for our Winter 2021 cohort, which will start in January. My name is Ashley Hearn, and I am the program manager at Dog Tag. So I manage all of the day-to-day functioning of the fellowship program and the main point of contact for our fellows. And then I also coordinate our relationship with the Georgetown faculty, as well as all of the external presenters that we bring in. We also have Frances Rabo on the call with us today. She is our alumni coordinator. I don't know, Frances, do you want to introduce yourself too?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Frances. I've been with Dog Tag now for just over a year, and I help out with day-to-day fellowship duties. I assist with recruiting, obviously, and then my main job is management of alumni. So anybody who graduates, like the past 11 cohorts that we've now graduated, I keep track of what alumni are up to and manage and coordinate programming.
Awesome, thanks. So just a little bit about Dog Tag. So we like to call ourselves a living business school. And we work with transitioning veterans with service-connected disabilities, military spouses, and caregivers. We have found that the diversity of bringing people from all of these different groups really brings a lot to the conversations that take place during the fellowship program. And our goal is really to empower people to redefine purpose and find community through a program focused on business and entrepreneurship skills. And so one of the things that is important to us is allowing each of our fellows to define success for themselves. So at Dog Tag, we're not trying to say, okay, we're going to have like 15 fellows and then all 15 of them are going to go on and start their own businesses. It's really helping you figure out what your next steps are through the business and entrepreneurship skills and topics that we cover as a means of doing this. So just a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. So I'll provide an overview of the program. We will go over some eligibility requirements for participation. We'll talk about the application process, and then of course we'll have some time for any questions that you have. You're welcome to put those in the chat throughout, and then we will answer them all at the end. At the end, you can also unmute if you're comfortable with that, and then ask your questions out loud. We're pretty casual, pretty flexible, so I want to make this a good experience for everyone. So about the program, it is a 5-month fellowship program. We'll begin in January and run through the end of May. This year it works out to where we're ending just before Memorial Day. And then we also provide a spring break for 1 week in March. So giving everybody a little bit of time off from the program. It is a very rigorous program, and so we encourage everybody to take some time and relax a little bit during that break. It is a full-time commitment. We meet Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And because we're working with a lot of transitioning folks, some of our fellows are active duty and actively transitioning out of the military. We know there are a lot of people either going through the med board process or who have just follow-up appointments. So we give Fridays off so that people can have time to take care of some of those things. There's no cost to participate in the program. So we cover all of the cost of the Georgetown classes. We provide your textbooks and the materials you'll need to participate. And then we also provide a laptop so that people can have access to that for the program. We do take the laptops back at the end, so it's for your use during the program. And then we also provide a monthly stipend to offset some of the other costs of participating. So we're not able to provide housing or transportation to and from the bakery, and we're not able to cover parking. Being in Georgetown, parking is a bit of a difficulty, but it's something that our fellows have been able to navigate in the past. But the purpose of the stipend is to help offset some of those additional costs. Um, we traditionally accept 15 fellows per cohort, and we do 2 cohorts per year. In our current cohort, we have actually accepted 16. So it's our largest cohort yet. We had some really great applicants and just felt that all 16 of them should participate. So we went ahead and upped our number by 1, which is very exciting. So there are 5 elements of the fellowship program. There is the academic foundation, which we work with our partners at Georgetown to provide the courses on entrepreneurship and business. The experiential learning, which takes place with the bakery staff. The learning labs, where we bring in a lot of external partners to share skills, share their experience with entrepreneurship, do some wellness activities. We have our well-being and reflection. So in addition to the business and entrepreneurship focus of the program, there's also a lot of self-reflection and introspection. So to figuring out what's coming next for you, what do you really want, what makes you happy, what ignites that passion within you. And so a lot of journaling, self-reflection, some mindfulness and meditation, trying to really build your toolbox with a lot of self-care resources and tools. And then finally, the Capstone Project, which is something that all of our fellows work on throughout the program. That is writing a business plan for the business that you would like to start. It could be a hypothetical business. It could be one that you actively are working on getting started. It could be a business that you potentially have already been starting as a side project, but you really want to grow. So there's a lot of flexibility with that. And I'll go a little bit more into depth with each of these sections. So as I mentioned, with the academic foundation, we partner with Georgetown University, and all of our fellows who graduate with a certificate in business administration from Georgetown. There are 6 classes as part of this certificate program. So there's management, marketing, accounting, communications, financial management, and entrepreneurship. We have a really great set of faculty that work with the fellows throughout the program. It's an accelerated class. It's a lot of work. There is homework. So definitely want people to be prepared for the rigor of the coursework. But our faculty are amazing and so accessible to the fellows. So providing support outside of class hours, working with people and providing that support. And then also having that support from the program staff as well. Our goal is to help our fellows be successful and feel confident in the work that they're doing as part of the Georgetown classes. And then we also have the experiential learning. So this takes place as rotations throughout the bakery, and working with like our development team on how do you write a grant, how do you build those relationships with external partners, working with our marketing team on how do you market a product, what does a mass email look like, and how do you build your customer base that way. Working with our management team and our catering team on what does management look like, what are some standard HR practices and policies, and what are some resources that you can access as you're thinking through developing your own business plan. And then our catering team does a lot with business development in terms of how are they identifying new customers for the catering, for the wholesale aspect of the bakery. And what are some strategies you can use as you're like cold calling people or trying to find those new customer bases. finance and strategy. One of the things I think that's great about the fellowship program is that as you're taking the Georgetown classes, you have the opportunity to apply what you're learning there to an actual small business. And so you're learning about accounting, you're learning about financial management, and you're able to actually see the budgets and the ledgers of the bakery and see that into practice and have that application. And then finally, product development and customer service, which is where you get to spend a little time back at the house with our chefs, doing a little baking, having some fun with that. Several of the items on our menu are items that some of our fellows have come up with. And so being able to experiment and have a little fun. And then also that customer service aspect. We have a phenomenal front of house manager, or a cafe supervisor, Joy, and she is like the embodiment of her name. Like, she knows everybody by name, like within like 1 or 2 times of them coming into the bakery. And so getting some of those customer service skills and some of that experience that she has had and built up over time. And I will say, so obviously with COVID-19, there's a lot going on in the world. We have been very fortunate in that we have been able to transition to a virtual program. So the second half of cohort 11, beginning in March, went virtual. And then cohort 12, our current cohort, which started mid-July, will pretty much be virtual the whole time. And both our Georgetown faculty and also our dog tag staff leading the rotations have been able to figure out ways to transfer these experiences online. I know with like the back of house, like it's hard to not be in the bakery doing those things, but they've been able to share some recipes with the fellows. People have been able to bake things at home, take pictures, share things, talk about what went well. And so really working on that flexibility and being able to adapt to the current circumstances. We also have our learning labs, and that is where we bring in a lot of external partners. We typically bring in about 150 external partners throughout the program, focusing on skill building, wellness. Some of them just shared their experiences as entrepreneurs, working on corporate culture, and then traditionally some experiences offsite as well. Again, that's been something that's been a little bit limited by the virtual, but we've still been able to really bring in these partners to share their experiences via Zoom, which is the platform that we've been using. We had a really phenomenal mock interview day with our last cohort, where we were able to bring in about 10 to 12 different companies that are located here in DC with some of their HR staff and hiring managers to do some of that interview prep. We have also just with our current cohort, we're gearing up for a resume review workshop. So again, bringing in partners from different companies in the area who have that experience reviewing resumes, who can share like, this is what I look for when I see a resume, and doing some one-on-one work with the fellows. A lot of partners who come in and share their stories of getting started. And then, yeah, it's just like, I love the learning labs, and I love how much support we've had from partners. When we went virtual, I know I had some question about how feasible it would be for our partners to continue providing these, and they just have really stepped it up and been incredibly supportive of the fellowship program and their interest, their willingness to continue working with us, which has been really great. As I mentioned, we also have a strong focus on wellness. And so doing a lot of journaling and reflection, as well as mindfulness, the meditation, deep breathing, physical activity. So we've been able to go out and do yoga, or also bring in yoga instructors to the fellows, which is something we've still been able to do virtually, which has been great. And then finally, finding your voice, which is a theater class. So one of our founders was a theater guy, and he was often quoted as saying that at dog tag, the stage is just as important as the ovens. And so that opportunity for our fellows to learn to share their story, to feel confident in who they are and what their experiences have been, and working towards kind of a dramatic monologue. It's an opportunity to get to know each other really well, to really build that community amongst the fellows as well. And we bring in a theater professor to teach the class. And we have that class about every other week. So it's a really great opportunity for sharing, for opening up, and for building that public speaking confidence as well. And then finally, we have our Capstone Project. And so this is the opportunity to really flesh out a business plan with an overview of your business model, some opportunity to do some research and some market analysis, to develop a budget for your first and second years of operation. And then you conclude with a pitch presentation. So you can see in the picture, one of our fellows is presenting for a pitch presentation. All of the fellows are there. All of the dog tag staff attend as well. And then we bring in a couple of external guest feedback providers who have a lot of experience with entrepreneurship, have started their own companies, or just have a lot of experience in that regard. And they can give some feedback as well on your pitch presentation, questions to consider. You know, we talk about a lot that the Capstone Project is like the final business plan, but we know that in reality, it's not actually final. As you're going as an entrepreneur, it will be constantly changing, adapting, evolving to new situations and circumstances and information. And so the pitch presentation is an opportunity to get some of that additional feedback, some additional insights into ways you can tweak it and adjust it as you continue to move forward. And then also we have a very strong alumni network. I know, Francis, do you want to talk more about this since this is your wheelhouse?
Sure. So something that we've been doing throughout the fellowship program, throughout our 5 years of existence, but have really ramped up in the past year since I've come on, has been extensive alumna programming, which includes allowing alumni and graduates of the program to engage with the current fellows during orientation, during closing week. We have social happy hours and get-togethers, which exist. It's okay, I can talk about it without the slide. You're fine, Ashley. We have social get-togethers, happy hours, even happy hours with the fellows. And now that we're currently in a virtual environment, we've been doing a lot of that virtually, as you can see here. That was one of our alumna meetups. And we also run professional development workshops on occasion on things that help people kind of continue building their business ideas or figuring out how to transition into the workforce, because like what Ashley mentioned earlier, not everybody graduates dog tag and goes on to start their own business or continue with a business. So we also help sometimes with networking. That's what we're really focused on here with alumni programming, is maintaining this network, making sure that you know people outside your own cohort, because we believe that at dog tag, we're a family and we want to make sure that everybody knows each other and gets what they need.
Yeah, awesome. Like Francis said, this is something that we've really ramped up over the last 6 months to a year, especially as we started to get more alumni. I think we have about 120 alumni right now, out of 12, 11 cohorts, and then we have another 16 in our current cohort. So in terms of eligibility requirements, so we work with post 9/11 veterans with service-connected disabilities, military spouses, and caregivers. We ask that you be eager to learn and ready to be pushed to grow. This is a rigorous program. We expect a lot of our fellows. You know, like a lot of people are like, oh, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4, that's not that bad, but it's a lot. And so I just want to stress that, especially with the speed of the Georgetown classes, the homework and the extra assignments. So just being to expect the rigor of the program. also individuals who are interested in exploring entrepreneurship and civilian careers. So a lot of our fellows come in and think, okay, this is what I want to do. I know what I want to do. And then they go and they do it. Whether it's starting a business or transitioning to the civilian business world, whatever that is. We also have a lot of fellows who come in and are like, this is what I want to do. Then halfway through, they're like, never mind, don't want to do that. And they go in a completely different direction. And then we have a lot of people who come in and are like, I have no idea what comes next. I'm kind of interested in entrepreneurship. I'm kind of thinking about this, but I need some direction. And so they're able to use the program as an opportunity to explore a lot of different options and opportunities, and begin to make some of those decisions and develop that path. We also expect that you are willing to contribute, to be open, to share, to engage in the personal and professional development that occurs. I don't want to be like pulling your teeth to get you to talk and to participate. I want people who are there and actively engaged in the program and in developing those relationships with their fellow cohort members. We do ask that you're able to commit to a full-time schedule Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then there's also, homework and things on top of that as well. And then also being able to provide your own transportation to and from the DC area, to the bakery in Georgetown. I know at this point there are still a lot of questions in terms of COVID-19, social distancing, what's going to be happening in January. At this point, we don't have a ton of answers. We are still planning to be in person, at least for a portion of cohort 13. It may be a situation where we start virtually and then transition to being in person, but just being able to have a plan and being able to be in DC for the portions when you need to be in DC. So we do require some documentation. So for veterans and for caregivers, we ask for the DD-214 form, either for the veteran or for the veteran for whom they're providing care. Definitely mark out all sensitive information, like you can Sharpie out or on a computer, mark out your social security number and things like that. We don't need to see that information, but we do need the DD-214. And then also documentation from the VA of your disability rating. As it notes on this slide, so spouses are exempt from this, but for the veteran or for the veteran for whom you're providing care, submitting that documentation, if you're in the process of transitioning out or are in the process of going through all of the documentation and the appointments with the VA, all we need is documentation that you're going through that process. So if you don't have the finalized form, that's okay. Just let us know and keep us informed on how things are going. And then we also ask for a letter of recommendation. And this is something that we get a lot of questions about. We want this to be from someone who can speak to you in a professional capacity, whether that be an organization that you volunteered with or a professor from a class. It can be someone from a couple of years ago, it doesn't have to be someone from in the last 6 months. We do have a lot of flexibility with who writes the letter of recommendation, but we do ask that it not be from immediate family or from a medical professional that's providing care for you. So those are just the two things that we ask that you avoid with the letter of recommendation. So the application process, we are currently accepting applications for cohort 13. You can submit your application online through our website. And the application is a two-part process. So for the first part, we just ask some general information, probably takes about 10 minutes to complete. Part 2 is when we'll ask that you write your essays, submit the DD-214 214 form and some other documentation. And that part may take a little bit longer. So we encourage you to go ahead and submit part 1 quickly so that we can send you part 2 and that you have time to complete that, time to get in touch with your reference so that they also have time to submit the letter. We have a 3-round interview process. The first round typically is with one of our alum, sometimes with a staff member as well. It's about like a 15-minute phone call, just getting to know you a little bit better, a little bit beyond what's included in the application. The second round would be with program staff, so with me and with 1 or 2 other people from our team. And then the third round would be a phone call with one of our dog tag board members. We are very fortunate to have a very supportive board who is very active and engaged, and they really enjoy taking part in the interview process as well, and being able to get to know some of our fellows. So that is, I feel like I just threw a ton of information at you. So now we have some time for questions. So as I said, you can put questions in the chat. You can also feel free to unmute yourself. It looks like we have a fairly small group for the live webinar, and then we'll also be sharing this recording out.
Hey, good morning, Ashley. Thank you for the presentation. My name is Ricardo Trevino.
Hi, good to have you.
Thank you. I did have a ton of questions, but you answered most of them, so I only have a few now.
Yeah.
The eligibility, I'm getting ready to retire in March. Am I eligible for the rest of my life, or is there a time frame?
So we don't really have a time frame. I know some of our fellows, are active duty and are in the last 6 months. We're in that, like, in the final stages of med board, or are using this as their skill bridge program. We also have fellows who retired 7 or 8 years ago. And so that's not, so if you wait a couple years, that's not something we'll be like, oh, well, he retired 3 years ago. Like, no. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question was, so
I'm not sure if
we're a vegan family, and my idea of a business was a vegan bakery. Do they make accommodations for that, or do I have to follow the established curriculum, using milk, butter, eggs, and all that?
Sure. So our fellows don't, like I said, most of the baking takes place in that one rotation. So it's a smaller portion of the actual fellowship. Mostly we're focused on those business skills and the entrepreneurial aspect. I know that in the past, I think, are the Warrior Bites vegan, Francis? Oh, you're muted.
Yep, gotcha. Yes, we have a couple of vegan options, actually, including the Warrior Bites.
Okay,
Awesome.
yeah, and so, oh, sorry. Yeah, the Warrior Bites are one of those items that were developed by fellows. I know in our current cohort, one of our fellows is gluten-free, and so she has been making some adaptations to the recipe to make it work for her. So I think especially, yeah, like that you would be
thank
able
you. We're not that strict, but if we're offered the option, if we're offered the option, that would be awesome.
Yeah, great. And then I think you have your hand raised, but I can't see your name.
That would be me.
Hi, yes, Rodney. Okay, now I can see your name.
All right, cool. Hey, Ashley. 2 questions. Like different parts of the course, what have you, are challenging to people on different parts. So are there like sort of like contingency plans in place to help with some like reinforcement training and things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I know we do have a lot of folks who have different learning accommodations. And so we're able to work with our faculty on making some of those accommodations. We also are working with our Georgetown partners to learn a little bit more about what's available in terms of study supports and things like that. And then, like I said, like our faculty is very accessible. I know that accounting tends to be a class that people struggle with. And he, like John, our current professor, is just so accessible and willing to like help. And he also will provide like 10 different ways to learn the same thing. So hopefully by like watching a video or reading the book or doing a practice assignment or like talking to him or like working with your fellows, like there's lots of different ways that we cover the same material. And we also work with people from a wide range of educational backgrounds. So in our current cohort, we have someone who only has a high school diploma up to someone with like a JD, so is an attorney, and like everything in between. And so we're working with people from a lot of different backgrounds who have different strengths as well. And one of the things that I have been very excited to see in our current cohort is that, like, we did a training on Excel to get people ready for accounting. And there were a few people that were just like behind the whole time. And before I could even like get in to like help people, the next morning when we signed on, somebody was like, last night, like Scott pulled us all together. He went through it again, like, and now we're all caught up. And I was like, oh, okay, like, so rely on your fellows. Because there will be other people in the group that really excel at accounting. And so working as a team, I think, is super important. One of the things is, while we accept individuals into the program, we use a cohort model for a purpose because we value the community that happens during the program, and those relationships that are developed and being able to see the strengths in others, the other places where you need improvement, and being able to rely on one another.
No, that's really good. I enjoy learning from other people's experiences and things like that, and being able to share. Is there like a specific person that comes to mind when you kind of look at how they went through the program and you go, wow, they're doing really well, or someone that we could check their business out or something like that that got really rocking and rolling through dog tag fellowship?
Yeah, Francis, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. We have a couple of people, and we have a lot of alumni who have gone on to start businesses, but I can put in some specific people in the chat right now and like give you some links to some businesses that have started as a result of dog tag and that have started up and are doing really well.
Right on. Yeah, thank you.
And so we'll also send a follow-up email with a link to the recording. So we can probably also send some links in that follow-up email as well. That way you don't lose them when the chat closes.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. What other questions?
Hey, Ashley, this is Ricardo. I forgot to ask one question. Is there a way to get a copy of these slides so I can show them to my wife?
Yeah, so we can send a copy of the slides when we send out a link to the recording as well.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Ashley. This is Sophie. Thanks for the presentation. I have two questions. Number one would be the 5 elements of that program. Do you have a rough idea like how much percentage of the time that we need to contribute to each of the elements?
Yeah, that is a great question. So that's actually something we've been tracking with the last couple of cohorts. I would say about 25% of the time is spent on the Georgetown classes, the learning labs, and the rotations. So like 25 each, so that's 75% of the time. And then another like 15 to 20 is the wellness. And then the last like 5 to 10 is the capstone.
Okay, thank you. That sounds great. My second question is the academic part. The certificate for Georgetown University, does that involve any extra cost?
No. So we cover the cost of the Georgetown classes. We also provide all of your textbooks. And then we will provide you with a laptop that you can use during the program so that you can do homework and access all of the things online that you need to for the classes.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Awesome. And then Kyle, I see you have your hand raised as well.
Yes, thank you. So is this something that we can participate, like just part-time or just come in on occasion? Because I know by the time you guys start this next cohort, I will be actively looking for a job. So, but it's something I would love to participate in. I didn't know if that opportunity was possible.
Yeah, so that is a question that we do get quite frequently. And unfortunately, it really is that full-time commitment because of the cohort model. We ask that everybody just really dig in, dive in, and commit to the program because that really helps with the community building aspect, with building those relationships with the cohort members, building that trust. And then also participating in that self-reflection piece. And so I think it's an excellent opportunity if you're able to take the time, but I wouldn't plan to make it a part-time thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions that we can answer? Okay, well, we will go ahead and conclude. I will go ahead and put up our contact information. If I know I'm the kind of person where like the next morning I wake up and I'm like, I should have asked that question. Definitely send us an email, fellowship@dogtagbakery.org, and we'll be able to answer your questions and get back to you. As I mentioned, we'll also send a follow-up email with a link to the recording, the slides, and then we'll include some of the alumni websites as well.